And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then said he unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, famines, pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons, being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. And as always, it's a great honor, pleasure, and blessing to be here to share this platform with you, to be able to tune into moment from wherever we may be in world. Many of you I've never had a chance to meet and may not even in the duration of this lifetime. But I know that in the end, we're going to be gathered and there's going to be a great reunion and there's going to be a party that none of us could imagine and conceive, gathering together with our loved ones and those that have already gone beyond, that have played their part and endured to the end, becoming overcomers. They've served out their role and purpose in this lifetime and hopefully fulfilled their sacred vow in the manner that they promised the Most High to do before entering into the flesh, incarnating into body and lifetime. It's a incredible scenario, the whole grand, great contest, the grand picture of who we are, why we are, and what all this is truly about. And I am thrilled to be able to share conversation with you and to speak about these revelations. Tonight, we're going to cover a few different aspects of just touching in on current events and what seems to be the theme of circumstance. Um, Many of you that have listened to the shows and the series that I've done with not only my son, but other guests and other authors, we've been talking about the events of the times and how prophecy is daily being fulfilled and how things like what I just, alluded to in Luke chapter 1 with the commotions, the wars and the earthquakes and diverse places, pestilences, famines. The famine seems to be the next aspect of the timeline and the unfolding, and it's one that I really want all of you to consider, because I think we have this window of opportunity here before us to do something about it, to at least put away. And I know many of you are suffering in that you don't necessarily have the income or the capability of, you know, uh, spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on dehydrated food or anything like that. And that's not what I'm talking about, because I think, yes, even though that would be great benefit, there are still things that you can do, and there's still time, in my opinion, to do that, whatever that may be. And I think it's, even if you were to buy and to overstock a little bit on your canned goods, to take some time to even stock up a freezer if you have that, just to put away some things. Um, and also rice and beans, those kind of things, grain, and um, there's ways and there's means for preparing your family for what could be unfortunate events and uncontrollable circumstances. Um, I've also been doing the shows with Zach Mason on the dreams and the prophecies. And I think this is very important as well, that we have a brother that is willing to examine the fullness of what is coming out in regard to the dreams and the prophecies that people are foreseeing, especially since we are told within the scriptures in both Joel and in the book of Acts that in the last days, in the end times, that the Most High would pour out the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, which it is my belief that she is, the spirit of prophecy and wisdom and intelligence and foresight and the fear of God and all those other things that connected to, insight and premonition, that the Most High uses dreams and gifts, even the common people, that he goes to those that are just dedicated to kingdom and that seek him and prioritize relationship with him. And so what is awesome about the times that we are in is that anybody can now, pick up the mic and create a channel to where they are able to share their dreams, their visions, their insights, the things that they are happening to them in their lifetime. And they're able to develop an audience that when they gain credibility or people think that there's something significant about what they are saying or what they are sharing, that anybody can become a servant for the Most High. And that in doing this, in standing for truth, in deciding in your lifetime to make a change to where you are going to dedicate a few moments, even if it's 2 or 3 times a week or whenever you can. And it doesn't take much, 15 minutes of a rant or commentary, a sharing, in the morning when you wake up. Well, this is what I saw in my dreams, or this is what I keep seeing, or what the Most High is revealing to me, even if you don't understand. But the fact is that the Most High is pouring out His Spirit upon the people, and that the common people, simple people, you know, mothers and daughters and brothers and sisters and fathers and grandparents, and no matter who you are, even young children, that have developed or been raised in a manner where they are compassionate and loving and caring towards their creator. And praise God for the parents out there that are raising children in this manner. We need sober minds and sober people raised in such aspect. We need a holy generation that being raised to hear the voice of the Most High, that it's common, second nature for them to pray over their meals, to pray over the water, the things that they drink, the stuff that they put into their bodies, to show gratitude to the Most High for just the blessings of every day, the simple things, eating and drinking and sleep and dreams, and just waking up to new sunrise and morning. Because there are so many that are lost, and so we definitely need as many as we can find of those that are found. And that's a profound thing, to be found in this time, in this space. And if you understand what I'm talking about, when you're not lost, that's a really big thing. When you have guidance and direction and you are in communion with your creator, because there's not a lot of people like that. And most people are stumbling in darkness, like, reaching out with no idea as to where they're going and having no reason or purpose to get there. And so, that's what we have in our books, and even in our mission, the quote, that I like to share in my books, that a seeker of lost paradise may seem a fool to those that have never sought the other worlds. If you really take a moment to think about that, the seeker of lost paradise, because lost paradise, that's where we're from. That's our inheritance. That's our legacy. a being, a fallen people in a fallen world, that our ancestors being tempted, deceived, and beguiled in such manner that, that Eve was seduced by the serpent, that she was overcome, and even Adam tricked, by an angel of the Most High, that because of this deception and because they had eaten from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they had desired to know good and evil, that they were cast out from their home, their place of residence, which was the paradise of the immortals, where the Most High and the word of the Lord walked through the gardens in the evening, where the angels and the cherubim and all of the morning star administration, the angels that served the Most High, they would come and they would gather and they would sing and they would pray together, they would celebrate and worship the Most High, all in all in plain view of the humans that were blessed to be there and to be part of this giant family is what it was. It was a giant family. And then to be removed from that situation, to be separated from your maker and to be cast down into a strange world, to be a stranger in a strange land. That's that's who we are. We are the seekers of lost paradise. And look at the next portion. That may seem a fool to those that have never sought the other worlds. How many people think that we are crazy or lunatic fringe or, conspiracy theorists, whatever name they degrade, belittle us with, and regard us in negative connotation. We are ridiculed for his namesake, just as, it is also declared there in Luke chapter 21 and Matthew 24 and Mark 13 and other places that, he told us that we're going to be delivered up, that the world is going to hate us because of who we are, in that we understand, and in understanding and being found, that we give ourselves completely to the service of the kingdom in the manner that, Christ example to us when the apostles argued amongst themselves, who was greatest amongst them. Then he bent the knee. He humbled himself, showed them in example to humble yourself before your brothers, your sisters, that it's not about arrogance or pride or standing above your brother the way that Cain did when he killed Abel, striking him, smashing his head in with a rock, And that was the beginning of the war, the enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. And so when we return from break, I'm going to go into a few things that I think you should know. And it's interesting how there's always an ulterior motive to the things that we see and the things that are reported in the news, um, which are there, like, is spoken about in 1984, that you had the media stream, the ongoing propaganda that was every day spoken about, and the realities of events that were not even occurring and did not even happen, and how the people did not know any different or better. They simply listened and believed and were led by a stream of lies to hold perspective in a certain manner, in a certain way. And we're exactly like that. Most people have no idea that the things that we believe are mostly based on deception. And, for those of you that doubt what I say, again, the whole thing of biblical cosmology will challenge you in your perspective and your bias of thinking you know what's going on in the world and what's really up with reality and what's going on. The fact is that most have no idea, and have no idea that they're even being lied to when it comes to the larger reality of world. I mean, when you finally wake up to biblical cosmology and you realize that, the sun is not the center of the solar system, that the earth is motionless and unmoving, it's fixed and situated as the foundation for all the stars that move in circle above it and that spin around Polaris, not the sun. The planets don't revolve around the sun. The sun is one of the many and one of the major luminaries which moves in circle around Polaris. And this can be confirmed with time-lapse photography and even with the phenomena of the midnight sun. Curvature is non-existent, and these things are facts. And yet, again, how many people would condemn me for just saying those things? A seeker of lost paradise may seem a fool to those that have never sought the other worlds. And certainly paradise in our connections to heaven. Remember from whence thou art fallen, Christ said. Remember from whence thou art fallen. It's pretty profound. When you realize that we're not from here, that this place that we are here temporarily journeying through in lifetime, sharing time and space and memory with one another and each other. And though, yes, it is a majestic and incredible place to be, this is still not our home, not where we are originally from. And so that's something interesting to learn. Something quite intriguing to come to remembrance upon. And so when we return from break, as I said, we're going to go into some intriguing things that I think will challenge your mind on what's up. We'll be right back, everyone, for a second.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world. As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com.
Little girl, we named her Eliana, and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing, so we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God, and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work, and Praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. With our newest addition to the family, Ezra, we also added Enoch's Judgment of the Giants to this prophecy series. We're excited to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out sacredwordpublishing.com/collections/children's-store.
And the sons of the angels of God looked upon the daughters of men and found them fair, and took of them wives, and their sons became of old great men of renown. So they have been mixing with us on a genetic level since the time of Enoch and Ezekiel's will.
Here on earth we're intrigued by the sun, moon, and stars, and imagine there's got to be planets like ours. So conceive of a face on the surface of Mars, so in need of a meaning and purpose we fall. And indeed they believe that these might be our gods, or that maybe with time we'll do right and evolve, and eventually reach what they seek, and then solve all the problems of man. But they really don't know that And all in the works of our hands are but just filthy rags. So we travel the lands to dig up our past time, our lapses, and with it are much of the facts. Some imagine that gods came in alien crash. We react in this way that's so desperate.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for a second portion. In regard to Not My Home, if you'd like to ask a question, just put it all in caps. I don't usually monitor the chat room when I rant. I kind of like just get lost in my thoughts, and it's distracting to try to do both. But I will go back on the breaks and try to get into any of the questions that you guys ask. And so if I don't get to it live immediately, just repeat it a few times, and I will go back up in the stream and look for your questions and try to share with you the answers that you are seeking. But the best time is during the AMAs. If you can join us on those shows, your question will be marked down. It will be relayed, and I will get to it eventually. And in that manner, it is shared with the entire listening audience as well. And so, yeah, but I just want to again thank everybody for joining. We are definitely a family of truth seekers, and as I said, the seekers of lost paradise. Oh yeah, I can answer that right now. David asks, have you ever had any visions or dreams of home? And yes, I have. I explain in my 7th book, the Skyfall, the Angels of Destiny, where I write about our pre-existence, our incarnation into mortal form, and how we pre-existed this embodiment, and that we were known unto the Most High before the foundations of the world were ever set. In explaining pre-existence and why Jacob was favored and Esau hated and those kind of things, why Jeremiah was, why Christ, the word of the Lord, told him, I knew you before you ever entered into the womb of your mother. I have foreordained you to be a prophet unto the nations. And the many other, passages and quotes which you can find all throughout extra biblical texts and readings that are specific to our having pre-existed, Ephesians chapter 1 being predestinated, and so on and so forth. In that particular book, in chapter 15, I write about my coming to remembrance on who I am and where I am, what this world is all about, the larger picture, the more profound reasons for our being here at this time, and that nothing, is coincidence, and even those circumstances of synchronicity and deja vu, how they tap you into what is a larger purpose for all of us. Those things are a reminder of home, as you say. And so, yes, I do share in that chapter, which again is several, I don't know, 20, 30 pages or whatever, my story. And also, the first 3 books that I've wrote are books of poetry that are specific to the dreams, the visions, how early in my life and even now that I've been a lucid dreamer my whole life, because I dedicated myself to remembering and to evolving that aspect of who I am. Even in college, I took um, one of my one of my minors was to study archaeology and also how dreaming, the significance it played for other cultures and peoples, and how I found and discovered that, we give no regard to it in this culture that we live in, besides maybe asking our children what they dreamt, but there's no significance attached to the realm and to the action of dreaming and to the space that the Most High has used throughout the generations to speak unto the prophets and to share vision and to give them, dreams and visions of home, and in explaining who we are, where we are, what all this is about, and how we are not from here. Even Christ said, my kingdom is not of this world. Why? Because this world is a fallen world and it is under the control of the prince of the air. Satan, the adversary, and legion, they have temporary reign over this world. And even scripturally, Satan comes, the you know, the Apollyon, the destroyer, the Antichrist. He comes to rule over this world. The beast kingdom will be set into place and they will be allowed to persecute the saints. And I know a lot of you, uh, believe in a pre-trib rapture, and God bless you. I pray you're right. But without a doubt, I know that the Antichrist comes on the scene first before the Messiah returns for the catching away. And that when he returns and the sign is seen in the skies from east to west, all people, us being on a flat, motionless, stationary earth, everybody looking up will see him return, will see the sign of the cross, will see and be caught up as long as you are numbered amongst the elect. And afterward, the wrath of God will be poured out on the wicked, those that are not written into the books of life. Please do check out the Revelation study that Justin and I did, where we went chapter by chapter, verse by verse through the 21 books of Revelation. We brought forth so many extra biblical readings and texts from the Great Commission 3 that are specific to the end times. Uh, no, Patrick Lewis, I do not believe that we sleep in New Jerusalem. I believe for the millennial reign that we will be here with the Most High. We'll be ruling and reigning with Him. We will be learning those things which we did not have opportunity to do so in this lifetime, where we are challenged by Legion, because they are vying with the angels of the Most High for influence over what is, the two peoples, the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent. So they are contesting for the the souls of the saints, and that the people born into this world, incarnating into this lifetime and into the flesh, that we are given new opportunity to determine our allegiance, whether we want to serve the Most High or Satan, because that's the challenge. This is the great contest, as I speak about in my books. The great contest is to enter flesh and to make proper choices, to follow the commandments and to do and to live in the example of the Messiah and to be as we are commanded, to honor your mother and your father, to take no other gods before the Most High. Of course, that is the first and foremost, that you love your Maker like you love yourself, and that you treat all other people with that same regard, with that same love, to honor each and every one in kindness and sanctity, because everything was made in the image of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. Everything is sacred. And so the challenge is that we come to remembrance on those things and that we act accordingly. That coming to remembrance, we do the work of the kingdom and help others to also come to that awakening. So, yes, I recommend my seventh book, The Angels, Skyfall, The Angels of Destiny, Pre-existence, Predestination, and Incarnation into flesh form. It'll help you understand the bigger picture and how we pre-existed before entering into this world. As we've been talking about this evening, that we are the seekers of lost paradise. We are the fallen, not the fallen angels, in that they are legion and they are the ones that are, working against the Most High. They are the enemies of the Most High. They are the adversaries of God and man. And they are the ones that are at the end of the millennial reign. They will succumb to the second death. They will be annihilated as if they had never been. But we are angels in a fallen form, in that we are in flesh embodiment. And we are under mortality, meaning that, as the Most High said to Adam and Eve, in the day that ye eat, ye shall die thereof. We are under the authority of death here in this world. And none of us gets a pass. All of us are going to succumb to death. That's the only way out. But we have a get out of jail free card, so to speak, in that Christ died on the cross in order to give us forgiveness and repentance and redemption, and that he rectified us and is going to restore us to our first estate. That's the beauty of the promise. And that's the beauty of the sacrifice that, Abraham and Isaac were trying to do, but the Most High had already a plan. The plan of redemption was put into place before the foundations of the world. Christ would be Savior, Messiah. And you can read about that. You can learn about that. All of that was set into place before the world was even ever established. And so let me go into a couple of things that I want to talk about this evening. And specific to that is, I had spoken about the wars. Well, it's interesting that I just recently learned, and this is going to be intriguing to those of you that understand, again, the ulterior motives of why things happen. Like I've written about and stated, covered in my books, for instance, the Iraq War, that it wasn't but a few, like in March of that year when the invasion took place, that it took months of preparation for them to get all the vehicles flown to certain places and all the equipment ready to perform and execute those invasions. But that a lot of that had been executed even before the events of 9/11, which should tell you something. Should tell you that they already knew that 9/11 was going to occur and that it was going to be a catalyst for the war on terror and of terror. And what is interesting, though, is that in March of that year, the German scientists that were working in Iraq, they had discovered the grave of Gilgamesh, and they had discovered this stela of him in gigantic form, that he was a demigod, that he was basically holding a lion like it was a pet cat. I mean, if you look at the stature and the size, this lion with the full mane, that's exactly what it was. It was like a pet cat to Gilgamesh. And it was said that, his body was preserved in such a way that, and there's leaked, now, of course, we don't know if any of this is true, but there are leaked images and videos of his discovery, and it shows him, with facial hair and still skin tones. And if that's true, I don't really know. But of course, we know that the elites are after the DNA, that they want to use the DNA in order to create super soldiers, and that the giants were without a doubt the most vicious and the perfect enemy. They were the arch nemesis of the Most High, that they were proud and haughty warriors. Just think about Goliath and how he was out there for 40 days and boasting, challenging Israel, anybody, any hero from Israel to stand up against him as the Philistine champion, that he was a six-fingered, six-toed giant, and that he had four other brothers that were also very apt warriors. And that, Og and Sihon and these giants that were even from the flood before, that they were, incredible enemies of Israel and the Most High. And so, without a doubt, it's my belief that the nations of the world are targeting regions and places for invasion in order to gain access to forgotten technologies. And that even though the world has forgotten, about and the civilization, the Atlantean myths and the pre-flood uh, mythologies, the civilization of Mu, the mother culture, the diaspora after, that's spoken about in the Emerald Tablets and the Scroll of Thothis about the Atlanteans and after their judgment and the destruction of their culture and civilization that, the Most High destroyed it in a single hour, in a single day, in a single evening, one night, that they split and they went in different groups to different parts of the world. And they established their authority over those peoples. Babylon was one of them, you know, the Middle East, Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki. But we have the stories of the seraphic angels, the fallen angels, those that abandoned their first estate and those that rebelled with Lucifer, becoming legion, that they ruled in the ancient time before humanity was here. And I would, recommend people check out my 2-book set on the pre-Adamites and the antediluvian world, the dragon lords, the antediluvian kings, if you are wanting to understand this more. But anyways, and so even in Afghanistan, there was this Bactrim hoard of gold artifacts and this priceless um, antiques and old artifacts that they had gone after initially invading Afghanistan. And the story of all that is out there. I mean, you can look into it, discover it, find out more about it for yourself. But again, why I'm mentioning this and why I'm speaking about it is because you can look up the story of how the world's oldest pyramids, a set of 30 pyramids said to be aligned together in a row as if you were to look at them from above, that they were set up in the same manner that the 5 cities in the Mesopotamia, Uruk and Erech and the other cities of Babylon, they're all in a row if you looked at them from above. But these pyramids were found in Crimea. And it wasn't long ago. I mean, it's been a decade, uh, which really is not a long time, but the oldest pyramids in the world were discovered in Crimea. And it wasn't, long that Russia annexed this region of the world and decided to put into place all of the armies. And for those, that have been listening to the Thracian Chronicles and to the teachings that we've been bringing forth, there's a lot of ancient artifacts and a lot yet to be discovered. Let's just put it that way. They don't even allow you to bring metal detectors into Bulgaria. They're illegal. And the reason being is because the region is ripe. And there's all kind of, even right now, illegal artifact hunting and people, digging into mounds in that region of the world. I mean, this is something that has taken place all over the world. There are ancient artifacts and ancient technologies and things of that being discovered worldwide, because there's more that is still to be uncovered, more cities and more ancient cyclopean cultures that have yet to be discovered, that have been discovered. And that's a fact. All right, we'll be right back for the second hour.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
When Justin and I found out we were having a little girl, we named her Eliana and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing. So we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work, and praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. With our newest addition to the family, Ezra, we also added Enoch's Judgment of the Giants to this prophecy series. We're excited to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out sacredwordpublishing.com/collections/children's-store.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. So, yeah, what I was talking about is that, these old pyramids were discovered in Crimea, and they're so old that they're subterranean. They're under the earth. They have yet to be dug up. They have to be. And these pyramids, they've used a ground penetrating radar. And they've discovered also that there are frequencies being exhibited. Uh, the story is very intriguing. Um, I'll try to get to it here in a second. Sorry, my cats, two of them just got shaved today, and so they are all about being loved on, and they are right in my face. So, trying to. Not my home says there is only so much info in your words and so much history to take in. I'm overwhelmed. I know by your books. Yes, if you want to get the fullness of the information and all the sources, and to have the bigger picture, the whole story there before you in book form, yeah, I recommend you get the books, because I can say a lot on air and I can cover a lot in 2 hours, but I promise you all the topics that I speak about, the books cover in much greater detail. There's so much more information. Samson, got moved, buddy. Um, and so, anyways, I can go ahead and tell you about this other story as well, and then when I can actually get to the story, I'll read it in greater detail. But um, I had also done and this was in 2006, I believe. I had done a 3-part series with an individual named Peter Moon, and it was on the story of the Busiji Mountains, which are in Romania, and that this discovery of that there were pyramids found there as well. I mean, there literally are pyramids being discovered all over the place, even in Antarctica under the ice, which lets you know uh, how old. I mean, things, these pyramids, these structures have to be very, very old to have been put into place before the the ice age and all, and also before the changing of the elevation as far as the water that the supposed, the ice age and the meltdown, which was said to happen 13,000 years ago, and that the waters and the ocean levels shifted by, I don't know how, in some places 40 feet, in other places hundreds, who knows exactly. But places like Yanaguni, um, ancient, these ancient cyclopean megalithic structures and temple complexes and buildings and things of that nature, and entire cityscapes, because they built huge cityscapes in the ancient times. And a lot of this has been covered over, by the flood and I'm not talking about the flood of Noah's day. I'm talking about the flood, which led to the destruction of the earth in what was the first world age. Because it was that one that destroyed the very ancient cultures. And the flood of Noah's day is an entirely separate cataclysmic event, which also led to much of what is the archaeological evidence of these ancient cultures to their being covered up and swallowed up and disappeared. But there's so much of it, as I was mentioning before we went to break, there's so much of it, so many cities, so many cultures and entire, I mean, just think of, like the one in Cambodia. Why can I never remember the name of that place? My children went and visited there. Yeah, those of you that remember, the name of the complex in Cambodia, I keep wanting to say Dwarka, but that's not it. But anyways, they did the radar, the ground penetrating radar. And they discovered that this city complex, which still remains and is, one of the wonders of the world, that it extended all throughout the nation, and that the jungles, the modern jungles, are covering over much of Angkor Wat. Thank you, Yohanan. I appreciate that. Robert, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, thank you, Hebrew Hawaiian. That is what I am referencing, Angkor Wat. And there's, stories of Chinese diplomats visiting Angkor Wat when it was in the height of its rule. And they talked about and spoke about the extravagance and the beauty that was taking place. But this place, even as large and as extensive as it is, bigger than modern day London, the cities that were built by the fallen angels in the ancient times were massive, massive. And then you have, after the flood of Noah's day, even, that time, you see places like Machu Picchu and others, especially in South America and Central America, cities that were formed at the very tops of mountains, which shows that they established themselves there because the water was receding and everything had been buried and swallowed and drowned because the Most High judged it all. And it was because of the presence of the giants. Then we see in the book of Second Baruch, 409,000 giants were said to have perished by number, spoken of in Scripture. I mean, that's a lot of giants. And then you see in the lost book of King Og that there's 100,000 giant war spoken about as taking place leading up to the flood of Noah's day, when the waters were coming down. They were engaged in war at that time. And it fits exactly with what the book of Enoch tells us, that in that book, the archangels Gabriel, Michael, Phanuel, and Raphael, they're told to lead the giants into war with one another. that part of the judgment against the fallen angels was to see their bloodlines slaughter each other and decimate one another. And so, yeah, Patrick Lewis says that Peru has over 25,000 pyramids remaining. Yeah, that would not surprise me in the least. It's probably more than that even. But again, we don't really even know. Think about the Amazon rainforest and how so much of that is still is unexplored. And they're finding places in like Russia and Siberia and very far out places. And especially in China, there's so many pyramids popping up and being discovered there. They're trying to plant over them to cover them and to keep them hid. So, and another thing is that the world is not dedicating any resources, any money to uncovering these amazing finds. And that's what I was talking about with regard to the Basiji Mountains in Romania and also the Thracian Empire, that there's so much that hasn't been discovered in that country that they ban metal detectors. They don't let you bring metal detectors in because they know that the people that do can go and discover these ancient treasures in great abundance. And, that's with a lot of the ancient places now. There's so much. I mean, you should, to just take some time to look up the treasures that are being discovered and videos that are put out on YouTube of, ancient discoveries. I mean, there's a lot of incredible artifacts being discovered by people just with, metal detectors going out there and uh, looking for things that people hid when they ran. The wars that took place and so many fortunes that have been hidden that were never regathered. There's a lot of that. That would be a fun thing to do too, especially in the old world like Europe and the Thracian, where the Thracian Empire extended to. Uh, there's a lot of time in history, a lot of wars and a lot of conquests, and a lot of people that died and suffered that hiding their treasures, they never had the opportunity to go back for them. And so, anyways, let me see if I can pull up an article here. All right. I'll read a little bit of this article. It says, gee, maybe it's not about oil. World's oldest pyramids discovered in Crimea. What if there's something else going on in Crimea beside political discourse and that Ukraine is over their head in ancient archaeology? Perhaps the Ukraine is attempting to protect their national treasure, but other countries desire access to the mother lode. There's not a lot of information about these pyramids in Crimea, a search on above top secret, and Google doesn't return much, so maybe the info has been suppressed, scrubbed, or is simply a hoax. Reportedly, 37 of the world's oldest pyramids have been discovered in Crimea, possessing frequency technology, implications, a sphinx-like structure, and a mummified creature said to be not from this world. The following are excerpts from Crimean news sources. In the summer of 2001, the Crimean pyramids were investigated by scientists from different countries. All of them agree in opinion that discovered constructions are quite real and unique. Underground pyramids were scanned by the latest devices, and as a result of the advanced search, new objects were found. The Crimean pyramids count already 37 megalithic constructions, 28 of them a huge rhombus. Sevastopol is the point in the sea to the west from Crimea's Yalta Konorchino village of Bakhchisarai Rayon. In the middle of this rhombus in Krasny Makh village, the 29th central 56-meter pyramid is located. More 7 pyramids form a small internal addition to the rhombus around the Yalta, where in the center, the 37th pyramid is located. Members of the research group made comparative analysis of the Crimean and 3 great Egyptian pyramids in Giza. It was found out that the ancient Egyptians and the mysterious Crimean builders used practically the same materials. Now, that would be intriguing to me because, as I said, it's my belief that these ancient pyramid structures and they're being created in a similar manner all over the world was because the fallen angels, after their destruction by the Most High, where their cities were said to have been drowned in a single day, in a single night, that they were destroyed from lightnings and meteors and comets or whatever you want to, from stones from above, as well as earthquakes and tsunamis and floods from around and below, that the Most High disappeared these cultures completely, eradicating them. And those that survived split up in different groups and went into different places and established different cultures all at the same time. And this is why you have like the Japanese and the Hindu, the Indian cultures, the Mesopotamian and South American, Central American, even here in North America, that there were ancient structures being established and built. And so a lot of that is found. And perhaps when we return from break, I will share with you a story from my books on the antediluvian world and the judgment that the Most High brought upon the fallen angels. I'll share with you a text that is little known to give you insight into some of what I'm talking about. But you can look up these articles to kind of look this up for yourself. Oldest pyramid found in Crimea. Jurassic period pyramid found in Crimea. They say that this culture and these pyramids show that these people were capable of space travel, or they can't get outside of the firmament, but people still believe in Star Wars and Star Trek and all of that, and the things that are believed according to those kinds of shows. But we know different and better. But anyways, and that they had this ability to harness cosmic energy. It appears an incredible amount of ancient artifacts lie at the bottom of the Black Sea off the coast of Crimea. The Ukraine evidently has a very ancient history with an extremely beautiful landscape, even unto this day. I wonder what ancient archaeological discoveries were unearthed and destroyed while excavating the extensive pipeline system below the Ukraine. And that's another thing that was discovered, that there was an entire pipe and a water irrigation system connected to these pyramids, which were discovered, which that was actually the first thing that the scientists, they were looking for and tracing down this water system when they came upon this pyramid complex. And that's the same thing that occurred in China, that one of the oldest and world's most ancient pyramids there in China, that these ancient pipes and the aqueducts and the structures that carried water to these far off places, that these things were discovered first, and then the ancient pyramid and the structures which led to and from these pipes were discovered thereafter. And so that would be a thing for people to look at. But anyways, I was also mentioning how I did this series with this individual named Peter Moon, who had insight on the story of the Basiji Mountains and how there was a hall of records discovered there, and that this place, this hall of records, it was said to be built by giants, and that it was protected by some spiritual force, almost like a force field. But anyways, he wrote a series of books where he revealed the story of the secret societies and the shadow government, and how they had discovered when we're trying to penetrate this particular pyramid that had been discovered in Romania. And they also discovered that it had an underground tunnel system that linked it to the pyramid in Egypt. And that one of the things that led them to its discovery is that some exploration of the pyramid there in Egypt. I don't know if it was like, the people had been looking for that hall of records underneath the left paw of the Sphinx that Edgar Casey had spoken about in his prophecies. But that when they had discovered this room, And it was discovered. Of course, it's been covered up and kept hush hush to the people of the world, but it has been released that this has been discovered, this Hall of Records. But anyways, when it was discovered, there was some beacon or something of another that went off that informed those that monitor these kind of things that the pyramid in Romania, this Hall of Record, went live as well. And well, I'll talk more about it when I get back. We'll be right back, everyone.
Leaders must be good students of ability, their ability, and the people that are in their charge, their influence, their ability. Sometimes it's easy to have somebody right close to you and you've never discovered all of their talent and their potential. I discovered a young man in Canada, Harold Dyke, many years ago. He worked for the railroad, making about $300 a month. But I discovered him. He became a good friend of mine, and I recruited him. The second year he was with me, he made $45,000. And now he's a leader in the community, and he's gifted and skillful, and he's financially independent, and he's a unique gentleman. Now, the railroad had him for 10 years, and they didn't know who they had. They didn't have this in-depth survey of trying to find the people that are right close around who may have some unusual gifts and capacities that nobody has yet discovered. So leaders must be students of ability and find ways to uncover somebody's unusual ability that may have been there for a while. And you've just got to find a way to uncover all of that. Part of the key to leadership.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world. As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased, as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for a final segment. And I was telling you the story of the Basiji Mountains and the Hall of Records that was discovered there. You can find, and I'll post, let me go ahead and post in the chat room a link to the 3-part series. Oh, I took out so much information, but there's no way I'm going to be able to get to it. Share what you can, you know. But, all right, here it is. Let me post this to the chat room, and I'll try to remember to add this to the description of the show as well. But this is and I spent like 15 minutes trying to find this show, even though I, was searching for the specific words and the story and everything. It still wouldn't come up. Patrick is asking me about the holographics that, well, I guess I need to explain more. All right, so the story is that this Hall of Records, it was a holographic image. It was like a screen that came down. You were able to type in some ancient language using this whatever computer type system was set up there by these supposed giants, that you could type and it would holographically show you the images of the ancient history of the earth and those times going way back, and supposedly also where these particular people had been from. But again, I'm not exactly sure, because again, we don't know for sure. We're only going by the stories that were released. But there was a whole series of books related about these discoveries, and we had covered and talked about this back in 2006. The Basiji Mountains, the Romanian giant Hall of Records. And so I did a 3-part interview with the individual that wrote these series of books. His name was Peter Moon, and he spoke about the story behind the secret societies, and this group of, these Freemasons were asked to get involved and to fund the project, and that they brought in some secret, like some sniper group or covert military group to try to infiltrate and to get access to this particular region. But anyways, the whole story is there. I don't even remember all of it. I don't listen to my own shows, so sometimes I forget. I covered so much. I've literally done thousands of shows over it's almost been 20 years that I've been on the air, which is kind of crazy. Been since 2006. Yes, I agree. Not my home. Someday we will know all things. And I think that's what the millennial kingdom is about. I think that we're going to learn about these things from the Most High, that He's going to allow us to sit in the circle and to ask Him and to just, give us the truth in the same way that he did with the apostles. You know, a lot of the um, secret books, those that were written after his resurrection and for the 40 days that he was here before his um, ascension to the right hand of the Father, he explained and spoke to the apostles in a manner that helped them to understand. And he related about secrets that we still, don't understand. Ha, yeah, yeah, 29 again for the 30 some time. Okay, so let me find this. I was looking for the story that I wanted to share with you about the scroll of Thothis. And I'm looking from a PDF, so it makes it much more difficult. If I had my book in Word, which I do, I believe. Yeah, let me look it up in Word, and then I can search directly. That would be so much more smart. Okay. How easy is this going to be? Should have thought about that to begin with. Ah, how easy was that? Okay. Now I just need to get to the front of it. Okay. Let's read this. This is the Scroll of Thothis. This is from the Coburn Bible, and it's a manuscript that not a lot of people have heard about or read. Um, I think I was the first person to discover its connections to the destruction of Atlantis and to share it with others. Even though the book had been put out, the Coburn Bible had been put out by Glenn Kimball and Marshall Masters. But the manuscript is extensive. I mean, it's like 900 plus pages. It took me a whole 3 months of one summer to read through the manuscript. And when I did, this is one of the texts that I found. It's manuscript, chapter 31, verse 5. It starts there. And it says this: the first land on earth wherein men dwelt was not Kahemu, which Kahemu is interesting in that it means Kahe. I think it's Hawaiian and it means something like wave or tsunami or something like of that nature. And then Mu was the motherland, which, that's intriguing. But anyways, if you look to James Churchward's work, he describes Mu in all of his books and talks about it. But anyways, it was a land out beyond the salt waters. To this land came the immortal spirit in the form of a radiant one from heaven, who had left his more enlightened place to dwell among beasts in the lower kingdom of sorrow. In some mysterious way, he became incarnated as man. How we know not, but he founded the race of man. It is not as recorded in tales told for the ignorant. Of course, that's, speaking about Lucifer, Satan the adversary, and the rebel angels that joined him and that were cast out of the heavens. And it says, even in the legends of the patriarchs and the prophets, that they became, they took on substance. They lost their ethereal nature and they became ephemeral. All right, so continue. None knows in truth the old motherland or where it was. There are tales, but they disagree. The 9 bows say it was southward. The learned are not united in thought. Some say towards the west, where the sun now sets, while others say towards the east, where the sun rises. Southward are great mountains and forests, monsters and men covered with hair. Here winds are formed within the earth, issued forth from a black cavern. It is a place of chaos where water, soil, and air are not separate. The old motherland could not have been there to the left-hand side. There's a great wilderness, the land of Amua. The old motherland could not have given birth to such as these. To the right hand is the wide plain of man-eaters, which stretches out to the far reaches of old Kamu. This was barren even in the olden time. To the north of the wilderness, the land is occupied by deformed men and dwarves, where amid this could have been the fertile pastures, and plowlands well watered from the sky river, where men lived in peaceful content. The old motherland was never there, nor, as some say, in the waters beyond, which boil at the extremity. Beyond the wide river there once was a land graced with all riches, needful to man, crowned by many-walled Meru. We know Meru is the name of the mountain at the center of the earth, where the North Pole is. It's the black lodestone mountain that attracts all the compasses northward. It's magnetized, and it's said to be the tallest mountain in the world, where the demigods lived. But it was not the land of our birth. Northward, the home of the cool breeze, but beyond the lands which skirt the salt water are the one-eyed peoples, and the giants with white hair and eyes. Here the rocks and stones are of the whitest marble, and the trees bear white fruit. Thus in the whiteness the eyes of men are blinded in their youth, for even the grass grows white. Before this is the land of Hosugia, a place unproductive and barren, where fruit never appear on the trees, and crops will not ripen. How could the old motherland lie in this direction? In the old books it is said that the old motherland was ruled by the Queen of Light, who was supreme above all. The temple tales tell that the lesser gods came to dwell among mortals when the mistress of brightness ruled in Kalathi, that they were sheltered in temples and priests were appointed to minister unto them. It is said that places of instruction were set up within the temples, but few men were taught that inner knowledge. It was rightly held that it would be a danger to those without wisdom, and it had to be safeguarded. Is this not the tale told in the Book of Beginnings? It is said that Kalathi lay within the borders of Kaemu, but could have not been the land of similar sounding name, outward from Pontus, beyond God's land? Is it not set up both that they were engulfed in fire and water? In the Book of Beginnings it is said that the generation passed in a vast amount of knowledge and wisdom was accumulated and preserved in purity. It was the heritage of mankind, but though man had learned to cherish the light of truth and walk wisely with it, nevertheless, then as now, false priesthoods flourished. They pandered to the carnal desires of the underdeveloped and exploited the weaknesses of the ignorant. Their iniquity built up a vast weight of evil in the netherworld, which projected itself into the material of earth, so that the powers which upheld it became unstable. This caused all the southern part of the old land to sink down into heaving waters. The disaster was brought about through the ascendance of evil. Rites which awakened the dead were rife among the carnal minded and ignorant, while those who remained steadfast on the harder road, a spiritual development had fixed their eyes on the light ahead, ignoring the pitfalls at their feet. It was then, even as now, will man ever learn. This was the aspect of the disaster as written in the book of beginnings. There were openings in the land from which evil vapors poured forth as a mist, descending upon the people like a mantle. It spread out and covered the whole face of the land. The tongues of the people were stopped and they became dumb with fear. The ground trembled beneath them, and great tongues of flame shot up. The whole land heaved and rocked like an ocean wave as it rose and fell, groaned and shook. The fires which strove beneath burst forth, to be met with shafts of lightning striking down from heaven. A thick black cloud of smoke filled the land, and men were smothered in dust. As the setting sun rested on the horizon, it could be but dimly seen beneath the cloud as a fiery red ball. When it had gone, a gray, dense darkness prevailed, lit only by great sheets of lightning. The waters broke heavily over the land, sweeping it clean. The plains and cities were covered, and new shores formed around the mountains. The waters mounted up until all that moved and lived was covered. The land was submerged. Mountain tops alone remained above the rush of uplifted torrent. Whirlwinds blew and brought cold winds, which cleared away the dust and the debris. Mud banks were formed, and a mountain mouth remained open to spew forth vile vapors. During one long, awful night, the doomed land was torn apart and southward sank out of sight forever. A wise man has written this was not mountain-girt Kalathi or age-old Ramaku. This was the land out in the green waters where the sun sets beyond Keftu, near the lands of Henbua. It is then said, they came through the marshes and across the wild mountains, beyond the barren places of stone, into a new land called Ankeda. Here grew the great life tree known even in the days of our fathers. This is the tree of strange aspect, like unto no other. Though in the days of our father it was barren and enclosed in flames, now we know that the life tree grew in Talius, which is towards the lands of the dawn by Pontus. And therefore could not the old motherland have been found hereabouts, as not all was inundated. It is said, men came out of the devastation, and behind them the land sank, and the earth shook. Mountains split apart and crumbled, where once there had been a valley, now stood a mountain. The air was filled with smoke, and hot rocks were hurled down from out of the sky. Men choked in brimstone. Great winds howled like 1,000 unearthly wild dogs. They left all behind them and came across the wild places to this land of refuge. Was not Kamu once known to some men as the land of refuge? And therefore the whereabouts of the old motherland is not entirely unknown. It is said that when men came from the old land, the everlasting stars rested where earth meets heaven, but none knows how many lifetimes have passed since then. Thus it is not impossible to discover where the old motherland lay. Therefore there is hope, and men need not despair, for the secret may be rediscovered. When once again the sacred things rest in the old land from whence they came, the days of disturbance will cease, and once again men will live in peace. Men go forth to seek the road. All is not lost to us, not yet. The scroll of Thothus from the Coburn Bible. All right. That's about all we're going to have time to cover. I do want to quickly tell you that I think Bitcoin has bottomed, that we are going to see upward movement very soon, and that it could take a year or so, but that we're going to reach another bull market. And so I am not a financial advisor, not giving financial advice, but I am saying that I personally am dollar cost averaging. And if I were you, I would do the same. Just saying. I do think that Bitcoin and Ethereum will be the ones that move a lot along with Polygon and BNB. I think BNB is going to be one of those coins that gains great attraction. And so dollar cost average, do what you can. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you welcome to reach out to me, contact me, and I'll be glad to put you on the list. Even though I've been working on these books and haven't done a whole lot with the Cryptos for Ding Dongs newsletter, I have been sending out information ever since before this bear market really took place. If you followed the writings that I sent out, I told people at 48,000 to get into cash and to stay into cash and to just gain your APY, holding on to stable coins. And the people that listened to me and followed my not financial recommendations, you did really well. And you were able to buy back in at, like it was 20,000, 17,500 that I told people that I think this is the low. And I do think it's the low. And I think that we're going to see a shift in sentiments. But that people are going to continue to believe. And they're going to say, there's going to be blood in the streets. But that's when you should be buying. When everybody else is selling, you should be buying. And I think we're in one of those moments. So, well, I hope that you enjoyed the show and enjoyed the reading. I was glad to have a chance to actually do a show like this. I've been wanting to catch up on some of the headlines and just kind of rant a little bit about where we are and share with you my feelings on, what's up with the world.
Hi, my name is Ella, and I'm 10 years old. I'm one of the millions of children born to parents suffering from the sheeple virus. Symptoms include the inability to think for oneself, the attention span of a goldfish, and a strong belief in government and the mainstream media. It is estimated that 1 out of every 2 children are being raised by parents infected with the sheeple virus. But there is a cure. For as little as 19 cents per day, you can become a TFR supporter and help children like me get their daily dose of truth. Together, we will make sure every child has protection from deception.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I often note I'm going to circle back. I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I'm going to circle back on a number of things, as we often do directly. I'll circle back, circle back. I hate to disappoint you. Circle back, circle back. That's an excellent question. Circle back, circle back. I hate to disappoint you, but we will venture to circle back. All of you.
Taking cocaine or not, what do you think?
This is such a good question. I have not had the opportunity to dig into that. I'll circle back.
It was a massive dump. To this day, everyone's trying to figure out where did it come from.
I'm not aware of anything, but we'll circle back.
This uncircumcised Philistine, who does he think he is?
As a mom myself, I want to know all the details. I have to circle back.
Thank you everybody for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.